Since the first presidential election in 1788, there have been many important and interesting presidential elections, but also been many uninteresting and boring elections too. These include the 1820 election in which James Monroe ran without opposition during the era of good feelings, the 1936 election in which Franklin D. Roosevelt were easily defeated out of London, who had not even campaigned during the election, the 1984 election in which Ronald Reagan easily landslided against Walter Mondale, and the 1996 election in which Bill Clinton was always ahead of the polls and Bob Dole never stood a chance of winning. The 1904 presidential election was one of these boring elections. Theodore Roosevelt, who had assumed the presidency following the assassination of William McKinley, easily defeated Democratic nominee Alton B Pocket, who was only a judge from New York. Pocket had only won the states in the solid South, but lost Missouri, making Roosevelt the first Republican since 1868 to win the state. However, this was almost the most interesting election in American history. Roosevelt had won the Republican nomination without opposition, but this was almost not the case. Mark Hanna had wanted to challenge Roosevelt for the nomination, but had died on February 15, 1904. Who was Mark Hanna, you may ask? Hanna was a political kingmaker for over 20 years and played a major role in the election of local presidents. He started as a kingmaker at the presidential election in 1880. According to Senator Charles W. F. Dick, Mr. Hanna has as much to do with the election of Mr. Garfield as any single individual in this country. In 1884, he attempted to have the Republican Party nominate Senator John Sherman, but he was defeated by James Blaine, and Hanna didn't really care about the election without Ohioan on the ticket. However, in the 1888 presidential election, he was a massive fundraiser for Benjamin Harrison. Hanna first met William McKinley in the 1870s, and by the Harrison presidency, Hanna realized that he couldn't run Sherman again in 1896, and instead chose to push McKinley for the presidency. He started plans for McKinley's 1896 campaign in 1892, and successfully managed McKinley's campaign for the presidency in both 1896 and 1900. Hanna was a man of the Gilded Age and shared his general corruption, but he was restrained in asking for political appointments from presidents and declined a candidate position from McKinley. He instead focused on winning a seat in the United States Senate, which he did in a controversial 1898 election and served until his death. Following McKinley's assassination, Hanna had worked with Roosevelt, including playing a role in the building of the Panama Canal, but there were rumors of him wanting to run for president against Roosevelt. Roosevelt attempted to have Hanna manage his re-election campaign as a way to get him out of the race. J.P. Morgan, one of the most important bankers of the early 20th century, offered to finance Hanna's presidential campaign. However, the rumors of a Hanna presidential campaign ended on February 15, 1904 with his death. Alton B Pocket, while the chief judge of New York's highest court, had a rather uninteresting career, although one of his cases involved him upholding the death sentence of the first woman to be executed in the electric chair. Despite Parker's blandness, there was initially much more interesting characters for the president's nomination, and Parker was now meant as a first choice. William Jennings Bryan, who had run in 1896 and 1900, was considered a candidate but declined to run. Grover Cleveland, who had served as president for 2 non-consecutive terms, was also considered a candidate but declined. Pocket had supported Bryan during both of his campaigns, but Bryan disliked Pocket for support of the gold standard, and Bryan instead seconded the nomination of Francis Cockrell. Out of the many other candidates that had ran, Cockrell stands out not only for his support from Bryan, but due to the fact that he had served as a brigadier general in the Confederate Army and placed third in the National Convention ballot. The only major opposition Pocket faced during balloting was from William Randolph Hearst, who does not need an introduction for those who don't know him well. Here's a short rundown. He is a major newspaper publisher and is well known for his yellow journalism, sensationalism, and his role in calling for the Spanish-American War. Hearst was also active in electoral politics, with him being elected to the United States House of Representatives and served from 1903 to 1907. He also unsuccessfully ran for mayor of New York City in 1905 and 1909, and for governor in 1906. He also created 2 political parties, the Municipal Ownership League and Independence Party. Hearst was a member of the Progressive Movement, although he would later become extremely conservative after World War I and left the Democratic Party for the Republicans. At the National Convention, Hearst placed his distance second to Pocket, but still received 181 delegate votes. So imagine this, an election between Mark Hanna, a massively corrupt political kingmaker and a illegal political machinery, running against William Randolph Hearst, one of the most infamous newspaper publishers in American history. This election will be changed from a simple landslide by a incumbent president against some unknown judge from New York to a great battle between political machines and wealth. Of course, no matter the winner, the United States will suffer, and it is better for us that we got the boring election instead of an interesting election. I would like to thank you for watching this entire video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and watch some of my other videos.